Hello. Good evening, everyone. Good morning to those of you joining us from the other part of the world. Welcome to day 3 of our inaugural Indo-US Rare Conference. Thank you for joining us. I am Nisha Venugopal, Program Manager at Indo-US Rare, and I will be hosting today's session along with our founder, Dr. Harsha Rajasimha. Over the last 2 days, we've heard some tremendously insightful talks on patient-led advocacy and patient-led research programs. The common theme of all of the talks was patient centricity. One of the main points that was brought up was the critical role played by patient advocacy groups in driving research and advocacy, but making those vital connections between the individual patient and other stakeholders. Today is Patient Alliance Day, and we want to delve deeper into this aspect. We will be looking at programs for patient support, education, and awareness from different patient organizations across the world. At the outset, I want to thank all our sponsors, partners, donors and supporters, volunteers, and all our Patient Alliance members who have made this possible. We are very excited for today's session. I know you're all too, but before we begin, I'd like to give you a quick overview of Indo-US Rare and the work that we do. Indo-US Rare is a nonprofit that was founded to address a key issue that hinders the advancement of affordable therapies for rare diseases, which is the lack of global diversity, equity, and access to clinical trials across the world. Indo-US Rare aims to tackle this problem by building collaborative bridges for all stakeholders of rare diseases to maximize diversity, equity, and inclusion in research and development, and to accelerate access to life-saving therapies. This is a list of our initiatives through which we are working towards this goal. Our programs target different stakeholders and include education, awareness, policy advocacy, and research programs. You have heard about our work in advocacy and research over the last 2 days, and we'll hear more about the launch of our Corporate Alliance program tomorrow. Today, I'd like to focus on and highlight our Patient Alliance membership program. Key values of the program include connecting patients and patient foundations from different continents to effective and the latest research, clinical, and resources, and also to connect patients to the latest cutting-edge research across the globe. Activities that happen include quarterly meetings to engage all Alliance members, as well as information dissemination about upcoming or ongoing clinical trials related to diseases that are represented by our patient member organizations. We are looking to expand, so please do contact us if you are interested in the program. Currently, these are our Patient Alliance members. We have 26 members who collectively represent over 500 diseases and 20,000 patients from across the globe. We are privileged to work with these organizations, and some of them would be speaking to you today. An example where we are looking to expand our network is for the patient concierge platform that we have recently launched and are developing. We spoke about this earlier in the event as well. This is a technology-enabled, scalable platform to respond to individual patients' requests for information or assistance. When a request comes in, we would like to connect the patient and the request to our Patient Alliance members and their network of experts and resources. We also want to facilitate and expand the reach of our members through this platform. A brief overview of the education and awareness programs that we have going on at INDOUSRARE. Our quarterly webinars are a key educational and information program which are on topics of interest to the rare disease community globally. Other programs include a monthly newsletter and other content. We also have omni-channel outreach through our organizational website. This is a brand new look. We've shifted to a new website, as well as multiple social media channels through which we're trying to connect with different stakeholders across the globe in this post-COVID digital world. We have a number of events that we had last year, mostly online because of COVID. And we had one, which was an in-person with limited participation and pandemic friendly. So how can you engage with us and contribute? You can apply for Patient Alliance membership. You can subscribe to our newsletter. You can reach out and refer for possible collaborations or even volunteer your time. Please do check out our social media handles and connect with us, and feel free to personally reach out at admin@indousrare.org. We'll now move on to our main event. You can see we have a terrific lineup of speakers here, but first we have an audience poll to get to know you better. I invite Harsha, our founder, to please take over now. And Ibento's team, could you please bring up the poll?
Thank you, Nisha, and good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 3. Let's do an audience poll, particularly focused on understanding the perspectives of individual patients and patient advocates, both here in US and in India, on how we are doing and what gaps we might be addressing. Can we launch the poll, please? So the first question, you'll have a minute to respond to these radio button questions. There are 3 of them. Are you a current member of INDOUSRARE Patient Alliance? Yes or no? INDOUSRARE has been a valuable partner for your organization. How well do you agree with the statement? 1 being the least and 10 being the most. And lastly, INDOUSRARE can help me connect with patients, researchers, and industry internationally. How well do you agree with that statement? We'll allow another 30 seconds for all the responses to come in. Many of our Patient Alliance members are actually speakers today, and they are not allowed to vote on this question. Sorry about that. We should Sadiq, if it's easy to allow speakers also to vote, that would be nice. If not, that's okay.
That's not possible, sir.
Okay, no worries. Okay, let's end the poll and look at the responses. So currently there are still several non-members on this call. We welcome you to learn more about the programs and engage with us and consider becoming a member. As there are 7,000 rare diseases, we are not resourced to address all of them, but we do wish to work closely with those who do commit to work with us as a member. That's where we can allocate our resources. On the value of our partnership, appreciate some of the responses here. we have people and individuals who are not yet our members. So we invite you to join as a member, and so we can generate more value. And lastly, thank you for unanimously agreeing to the value that INDOUSRARE can serve as a bridge in making these connections. So with that, let's move on with the program. Nisha, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. One second. All right. Yeah, before we start, a few housekeeping points. Please do remember to type in your questions in the Q&A box so that we can read them out to the speaker. If you type it in the chat box, it's a little difficult to track, so try and put it in the Q&A box. Thank you. A short feedback survey would be sent after the session. Please do complete it and send it back. This event will be recorded and available online in case you have to step out. Okay, so to get started, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Sameer Sethi. He is the president of the Indian Rett Syndrome Foundation. He's been a member of the foundation since 2009 and a president since 2014. His personal stake is that he's a father of a child diagnosed with Rett syndrome, and he's been at the helm of aggressive campaigns from the organization and is an active part of the organization's activities, including numerous awareness campaigns and other support programs. Mr. Sameer Sethi would be speaking more about the work that he does. I invite Sameer Sethi to please go ahead next. Mr. Sameer, next to you. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nisha, for those words. I'm humbled. Good morning and good evening to my extended family, family in the US and family that we have in India, as a rare disease community and a family that I look at as an extended family. Let me share my screen. I have a small presentation where I would be going through. Sorry about this. I have not started from the very beginning. You definitely have these glitches when you are not wanting them to happen. Okay. Hopefully, I think I should be starting from the beginning. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'll be talking about our foundation here called the Indian Rett Syndrome Foundation. We say I've kept the theme or the focus of my presentation today to be saying we are silent but not without hope. And why I say silent is for a particular reason, which probably would emerge from the presentation that I make. These are some very interesting pictures, which I just got from one of the parents in India. What they have done is they have taken the bottles of medicines which were being given, the anti-epileptic drugs which were being given to his daughter. And he has preserved those bottles and has converted them into kind of bottle art. And he displayed this in a hospital in southern part of the country, just to create more awareness about Rett syndrome. And I thought it was a wonderful idea to, to create that awareness and spread the word around. Okay, so I'll be taking you through about what Rett syndrome is all about, the public health system, because I think while, yes, I'm here to represent about our foundation, but I think it's even more crucial and important to firstly understand what is the health system which is existing in India. What is the patient's dilemma that we have specifically to a child which is born with rare disease? I'll give you a brief introduction about the activities that we do and what is the expectations and the way forward. Okay, so getting started about Rett syndrome, it's we talk about Rett syndrome as somebody who's got symptoms of autism, cerebral palsy, Parkinson's, epilepsy, and anxiety all put together in a girl who can't talk. So so now you understand why I say silent but with hope. So these girls, most of them are not able to speak or communicate in any meaningful way. And the major reason that we understand now is because of a mutation of a particular gene, MECP2, which is found on the X chromosome. And that's the reason why most of the girls get affected who survive this mutation, because male child becomes a challenge for them. Even if they do survive, it's a major disability which they go through, and often not able to survive more than 3 or 4 years of age. This MECP2 protein is essential for the neural control up there in our brains. And we know that the incidence is about 1 in 10,000 as it's been recorded and extrapolated in the Indian country as well. So it's a genetic disorder we know about, but it's often not inherited. And what happens to a child who's diagnosed with Rett syndrome is their continuous seizures and epileptic seizures, which you see in them. They are non-ambulatory. Most of them are bedridden. And as I mentioned, they have very limited communication and are non-verbal. They have severe breathing disorders, which often is complicated with apnea and at times even with sleep apnea. They also develop the scoliosis, where their spine starts bending and creating trouble, which is even interlinked with their breathing disorders. And of course, you see intellectual impairment in them. We see a lot of involuntary hand movement. It could be ringing, it could be just rubbing the hands together, it could be mouthing, anything which you see in these children, which is very, very typical of the disorder. You also see a lot of children not being able to sleep properly. They have severe digestion issues. Constipation is something which we see very commonly in them. And if you see all these things, they need support and the care of the family members 24/7, 365. If we talk about the treatment, unfortunately, we don't have any particular medicines to say there's a cure which is available. So we need to take care of the symptomatic treatments of the comorbidities, which I just mentioned, which includes seizure control, which is taken care by a neurologist. And why I'm mentioning this is, it could be a repetition, but what I want to highlight here is a mix of all the specialists that we need for a child who is diagnosed with Rett syndrome, which makes it more complex, because you need a team to interact between themselves, between a neurologist, a pulmonologist, a gastroenterologist, a psychiatrist to look up into this child who needs all kind of complete package to make sure that the child is taken good care of. And of course, you also need rehabilitation in terms of speech and physio and occupational therapies. I will now take you back a little bit to discuss about the Indian health system, because I think it's very important to understand for our friends who are joining in from the US that how does healthcare imparted in the Indian scenario. So we have a major population which is rural. It's living in the villages and semi-urban infrastructure. The infrastructure there in these cities, in these sub-metro cities, is not as good as what you see in these bigger cities and towns like Delhi, Mumbai, and Hyderabad or Bangalore. So the infrastructure definitely lacks in a big way. The government does assure you and say, yes, free healthcare for all. But again, it's a question there whether it is actually being imparted to them or not. And which also reflects in the spend that the government sees of only 1.5% of the GDP as compared to what we see in some of the developed countries. The ratio between the patient and the doctors, again, is far from what has been prescribed or what has been told by WHO, where they say it should be, ideally it should be between 1 to 1,000, but we are somewhere around 1 to 11,000. So the number of doctors that we need is definitely very, very high. And again, if we talk about specifically about being a genetic mutation, as most of the rare diseases are, we have a severe crunch again on the facilities for genetic testing and for genetics to be available in the country. And of course, because of limited numbers and the infrastructure being not so adequately provided, the cost of diagnosis and the treatment for such kind of ailments becomes a big problem, which is unfortunately not covered under any insurance or under any kind of reimbursements for anybody. So it is left for the individual to look up into themselves for funding and providing the kind of money which is required for treatment and management of these ailments. And of course, there is a tremendous amount of lack of awareness which exists, as most of the rare diseases that we have and we see all over the world. There is also a very severe problem of cultural practice of consanguinity and social stigma, which is linked to the disability, which is an unfortunate, I would say, a trait of the Indian society, but that's what it is. I'll skip the video for the time being to just, this is, maybe I'll come back to this, and if time permits, and if, of course, Nisha also permits me to do that. Okay, so talking about a patient's dilemma, I mean, there are multiple issues which a patient who has some kind of a problem is to start with. He has an issue, a severe issue of diagnosis, which we see in most of the rare diseases. Running to the pediatric neurologist or to the clinicians for finding out what kind of phenotypes are we talking about. And of course, if we are talking about a genetic disorder, how do we get the test? Where do we get the test from? Who's going to pay for those kind of tests? The management, once we know that there is a problem, the issue related to genetic counseling again is very limited. And if it happens to be one of the ailments or a syndrome like what we have in our children, you need multiple disciplinary specialists to be addressing those issues, which again becomes a problem to get all of them together, which also includes the coordination being a challenge, and of course the cost, because it's all going to be funded by individuals themselves, which also leads to despair, because you don't have any cure which is available. There is no specific treatment which is available, and you have limited funds to be able to provide that kind of treatment and management which is available to suit those individuals. And if you require 24/7, the cost obviously gets increased to a very high level. And where you know that there is no cure, you are very uncertain about the future, the parents start getting a little hesitant in terms of spending that kind of money. As I also mentioned, if it happens to be a rare disease which is affecting girls, there is a very high chance of social stigma also getting attached to it, where it's a girl child who has disability, and the blame game then starts. They start blaming the mother of the child to say it could be possibly because of you, and so the stigma starts getting explorated, and the family is kind of gets into an isolation where they say that it's not easy to be living in a world where you start getting singled out to say that you have a child who's got special needs. And of course, this also leads to your vulnerability, where superstitious beliefs start coming in. There are non-medical options and opinions which start falling into you to say, oh, you could probably go to a quack or a person who could give you some relief out of the problems that you have with your child. And that's where we step in, because a parent support group then like ours gives the support to the parents to tell them to create that kind of awareness in them, to build that confidence and say that, yes, we can take care of you and we can try and bring you, drive you right up to taking you to the cure for the ailment that your child goes about. We are...
Sorry to interrupt. Last minute, we would have to wind up.
I'll try and run through this quickly because, yeah, okay, so we do a lot of activities. I think we'll cover it up in the, we do a lot of things which is related to the acceptance of the parent and the family. So that's the first step that we take in terms of making sure that the child is accepted by the parent and the family, the immediate family. And thereafter, we talk about the integration, because once the family has accepted, you also need the extended family, which is the society, or the larger family, which is linked with that particular family, to accept the challenged child which they have with the parents. Then you also need to get this family to be taking care of the child in terms of medicine, in terms of rehabilitation, counseling, and of course, the funding. If their funds are not available, if they don't have enough money, how do we ensure that the funds are available for them? So we do a lot of awareness programs in multiple specialty hospitals, where we invite clinicians and provide them with the diagnosis, options for rehabilitation, what all can be possibly done for their children, and also provide them with simple aids and gadgets which could help them in supporting the kind of work that they do with the child. These are some of the pictures. I'll just run through them. These are some of the programs we did, where we also included, if you see over here, we do one-to-one discussions with the specialist clinicians who provide them with the support, what is required to not only, it's not a general kind of a discussion, but it's a program where you can have your individual issues be addressed in this. This is another program which we started for our children, and it's been a very great success, where we had, it's called Samarth, which is Silent Angels Medicine and Rehabilitation Therapy Program, where we had the parent go to the clinician, individual parent go to the clinician, have a full consultation, who provides them with a prescription. This prescription is taken by us. We provide them with the free medicines at their doorsteps through the online pharmacies. And if there are any further tests or lab reports which is required, we also support them on that. And of course, the second phase of this program is to provide them OT and physiotherapies at their doorstep. So we plan to engage a therapist who can go to this family and provide the support what is required. Okay, so these are some of the activities which we do in terms of disability certificate, the health insurance, which is a small insurance policy for special children. And we also do our interaction with different organizations such as INDOUSRARE and Race for 7, ORDI, and participation in global conferences and picking up information and disseminating them. These are some other programs which we did at various programs. And this was a program which we did at McDonald's. We distribute free diapers and wheelchairs to children who really need them. Okay, so I think I'll just go through this, which is probably one of the most important slides for us. We're talking about a large population base as to what is India offering, I think, in terms of as a clinical trials or destination for research to be initiated. We are a large population base with large diverse genetic pool, which offers the opportunity for a lot of research to be conducted here on a diverse pool of individuals which is available. We also know that India is not away from the rare diseases, patients with rare diseases. And so there are a large number of individual mutations which are prevalent in the country. If we talk specifically about the Rett syndrome, we presently have about 400 children who are enrolled with our foundation. We have nearly about 50% who have confirmed genetic mutations. The PSG is well connected to the parents, so they have a good platform to understand and create that awareness about any kind of programs which we say. We also recently did a program for trials of one of the drugs for these children. As India as a country offers, we are the third largest market globally in terms of volume and 14th in terms of value. So the pharma industry is pretty much well established in the country. We have a large manufacturing base for drugs in the country. So we have the required numbers in terms of the expertise to also be available, which is a high standard for research. We have proven capabilities of medical research, IT, and scientific manpower. And of course, the operational cost for clinical trials is much lower as compared to what it is in the US and the US. So India definitely offers a very good platform, a very good opportunity for the clinical trials to be conducted. And that's what we are looking for from the from an organization like INDOUSRARE to support us to come forward and bridge this missing gap between us and the researchers across in the US who could take this opportunity and move a lot of these trials and research programs into the country. So this is, as most of us, we are looking for cure for us. And Nisha, if you permit me, I have a small video. It's a very, very nice video, which probably, I don't know if some of you have seen. It's about, yes, we are talking about the rare disease, but I thought this will be a good thing.
The video does not have an audio link to it because you've not shared with those settings. We could perhaps come back to this just before networking, if that's okay.
All right. I don't want to hold you up. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I don't see any questions. I just wanted to, say, sir, that every time that you say, if you the word that you use, angels, it's so wonderful for all Rett syndrome patients. And in a country like India, that's a really important word to use because of the social stigma. So that's something that keeps hitting me every time you speak. Thank you for the wonderful work.
Thank you very much.
We are moving to our next speaker, who is, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. Dr. Arun Shastri, who is the Chief Scientific Officer at Dystrophy Annihilation Research Trust India. Dr. Shastri and his work was spoken about earlier in this event by Dr. Madhulika Kabra. Dr. Shastri holds a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, and he has numerous achievements under his belt, including publications in peer-reviewed journals, various ones, as well as numerous grants and fellowships within India and abroad. His research interests, as you will see soon, are in rare genetic disorders, personalized genetic therapy, and neuromuscular disorders. Dr. Shastri, over to you.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Harsha. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak at this Indo-US conference, which is the first of its kind. Can I share my screen? Yeah. So basically, I want to cover our story in a time of 12 minutes, where we started from lab to clinic. That is the journey of DART. DART is Dystrophy Annihilation Research Trust. We are a parent organization based out of Bangalore, and we would like to achieve total annihilation of muscular dystrophy using science. So current scenario is that worldwide, a lot of things are available for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. However, very much was not being done in India. And with more than 5 lakh cases of different kind of muscular dystrophy in India, there was a lot of unmet need, and a group of parents decided to do something which nobody dared to. Even though there was extensive research worldwide, there were no trials coming to India, which was a bad thing because all our children were losing out. That's when we decided, why don't we do something on our own? And we decided to develop some compounds or molecules based out of India so that it could be affordable and accessible. This is our founder, Mr. Abdeep Singh Anand, whose son Karanveer Anand is diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in 2003. And he has been part of various parent support groups across India, but he could see that nothing was not much happening and no kind of therapy was coming to India. So that's when in 2012 December, he decided to start Dystrophy Annihilation Research Trust, which had only one goal: to come out with some molecule or therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Our mission is to bring out together all the DMD patients and families and create awareness about treatment, trials, and facilitate research using various solutions. The vision of our trust is to empower research and realize the potential of full rehabilitation for those who are diagnosed with DMD. Our USP is that we are one of its kind of organization in India focusing on research. We have a nationally and internationally acclaimed research facility with state-of-the-art cell culture facility, an organic chemistry lab, as oligonucleotide synthesizer with a manufacturing license. And we also take part in doing a lot of physiotherapy and rehabilitation activities for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Our in vitro facility focuses on antisense oligonucleotide based exon skipping And we have created a lot of patient cell lines for different mutations. We have also published a lot of papers in coming out with the next generation sequencing platforms for diagnosing different kind of genetic variations and mutations in DMD population. And we have also developed a proteomics facility with different kind of cell lines available for muscular dystrophy. Our oligonucleotide facility is certified by the Indian Drug Authority CDSCO as a GMP manufacturing facility, and we have been using that for the development of our molecules. We collaborate with different people for doing the animal studies. These are some pictures of our lab and facilities. Apart from the research, we have also been involved in a lot of awareness programs wherein we have conducted walkathons, marathons, camps, and also a lot of media coverage has been done on our story, where how the Anand family started this, and then a lot of other parents joined the wagon and helped us develop this research. We have also been awarded a Strive for DMD award from PTC Therapeutics, wherein we had come out with a concept called Dart Mobile, wherein we went around in different villages of Karnataka to create awareness and also find out and help them with diagnostics and other aspects of muscular dystrophy. We have also participated in various national and international conferences. And these are some of the pictures of how we started our lab in 2015 and some of the conferences. Almost, I mean, because of the pandemic, we are not able to meet much. We otherwise previously every other month we'll have some or the other engagement and activities wherein the muscular dystrophy patients come to our center and we have different activities for them. We also, these are some of the art and craft by some of our kids. They are very brilliant. So these are some of the testimonials from of the international researchers who have been supporting us, and they are also part of our advisory board. And these are some of the feedback from the parents who are part of DART, and they keep motivating us to come out with the research. As a awareness initiative from DART, we created a superhero based on our inspiration, Karanveer Anand, who suffers from DMD. We created a superhero called Master Muscle, who is a boy affected with muscular dystrophy, but wheelchair bound. With the help of his science teacher, he developed some superpowers to fight the social stigma what a muscular dystrophy patients faces on a daily basis. So coming to some of the science part, we are working on a chemistry called antisense oligonucleotide based exon skipping, wherein we propose a treatment for Duchenne muscular dystrophy with various mutations based on the genetic testing. In 2017, we had done our first patient study as an ICMR approved project, wherein Mr. Anand's son was the first patient to receive it, and followed by which we found out that this kind of therapy could benefit a lot of patients. However, the urgent need was to conduct a large multicentric national program in the form of a clinical trial. Now, currently, the drugs available in the US range from $300,000 to $500,000 per year per child, whereas we have come down to a price of $30,000 per year per child with the current chemistry, and we would achieve to get it as affordable as possible. And when coming to the different kind of exon skipping trials available worldwide, India was nowhere in any of these trials. So I'm happy to share that we have got the approval to conduct the first India's exon skipping trial across 9 different sites in India. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we are not able to start, but hopefully next year we should be able to begin, as 1 or 2 sites of the clinical trial sites are ready and we have got all the necessary approvals. And we are looking forward for it, for getting patient recruitment for our trial. And this is our goal. We stand united against DMD, and we would achieve total annihilation of muscular dystrophy using the power of science. Thank you.
If anybody has any questions, please do post in the Q&A box. Dr. Shastri, that was just an amazing presentation, the work done at DART. Of course, the superhero comic is what everybody would be focusing on. I've personally gone through it, and Karanveer is definitely a superhero in real life. One of the things that I would like to ask is, do you have any advice for those groups who are trying to, they do support and education activities and they're trying to move into supporting research, but DART has gone a step beyond and done the research themselves. So is there any word of advice that you'd want to give them on how to go about doing this? I know you faced various hurdles, but if there's a quick tip. that you want to provide?
Yeah, Nisha, my only request or appeal to everybody in this conference is that whatever we have achieved as DART is all because of the tireless efforts of parents of DMD. We started with in single digits where a couple of parents saw sense in our research, and now it has grown into more than 50 families actively supporting us. And that is the only way we can do something ourselves rather than waiting for somebody to come and give everything on a platter.
Definitely, the power of parents and patients is being embodied in DART. Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Shastri.
Thank you.
All right, because we don't have any further questions, I will be moving on to our next presenter, who is Ms. Gitanjali Sehgal. She is the co-founder of Families of Spinal Muscular Atrophy Trust India. Her relation to rare diseases is that her niece is a type 1 SME patient. And apart from her tireless work as a patient advocate, she also has a full-time job as a business consultant. She has represented the SMA community in numerous conferences in India and abroad, and has been working tirelessly for getting clinical trials and compassionate use programs set for SMA patients in India. Ms. Gitanjali, over to you to speak about your work and the work at FSMA. Welcome. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Sorry about this. Good evening, everyone. So a very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you, Harsha, and the team Indo-US Rare for giving me this opportunity to present the scenario of spinal muscular atrophy and what we've been doing through FSMA, which is Families of Spinal Muscular Atrophy in India. Like Nisha said, that I have been associated with spinal muscular atrophy or rare diseases because of my wonderful niece, Kavya, who is a SMA type 1 baby, and she's 13 years old right now. And I will just go on to my presentation. Just give me a second. Okay. Can you see the presentation? Can you all see the presentation?
Not yet. Please do try again.
1 second. Like just when you don't want the glitches, they do happen. I am on share screen. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
Not yet, Gitanjali. Did you click on share one more time? After you click on share screen, it pops up a window. You have to click on share screen another time.
Okay, try again.
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Give me a second. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it full screen now?
It's not
Yeah,
full screen, but it's we can see.
Yeah.
One second.
You can just press F11.
Press what?
F11.
I did that. It's not. Okay, anyways, I'll just start.
Yeah.
So, just give me a second. Maybe. Okay, I'll start irrespective. So FSME India, we have a logo with creating possibilities of cure and care for the SME community in India. Our journey has been so far, like we are the India's #1 registered, so the first registered trust, which was formed with the name to help patients of SMA in India. Our resolve is to lend support to all SMA families and also other families suffering with SMA. We have had an approach of multi-stake collaboration, advocating and seeking awareness and solutions by collaborating with medical fraternity, Government of India, international organizations, pharma companies, and patients. We've had a rather unique journey because, for us in the last 3 years, fortunately, there has been, 3 cures that have, or treatments that have come for SMA after waiting for many years. And all through these 13 years, as far as FSMA is concerned, we've been in touch with various organizations and pharma companies globally who were researching for the cure. And the 3 cure that has come up now is by Novartis, Biogen, and Genentech. And so, when we knew that the cure is very near, right now, we started collaborating and we started reaching out to all these companies because what was not happening was that India was not on the map for these companies in terms of compassionate usage. So we reached out to all these companies in various forums and requested them that, the rare disease community and SMA community in India has been waiting very patiently for these drugs. And though we have tried a lot for clinical trials and all also, that's not happened. However, we pushed a lot for compassionate usage, and we've been very successful with that. We've had various rounds of compassionate usage programs, and I'll take you through that later. So we represented Indian community in various international disease forums, and a lot of collaborative efforts have happened, through various conferences, through various personal reach out programs, through doing one-to-one with the companies, and also, Government of India and various medical fraternities for getting the compassionate usage, along with obviously the Drug Controller of India. So like I said, so for the treatment, we've held several meetings. It started like many years back with the Drug Controller of India. Earlier, it was for clinical trials, then it was for compassionate usage, and also for approval of drugs to be launched in India. So you can see a few pics over here where we've had various meetings with the central government, MOHFW, state representative, health representatives, and all of them. So now we have 3 treatments for SMA. That's Spinraza by Biogen. We have Risdiplam by Roche, and there is Zolgen SMA by Novartis. The Indian scenario is very different. There are many young children and adults have been given one of the 3 treatments under various compassionate usage and humanitarian access programs now. All 3 drugs, namely Spinraza, Biogen, Risdiplam by Roche, Zolgen SMA by Novartis, have had various rounds of access programs in India, and more than 250 people are under treatment under the compassionate usage program. So that's been a very big achievement because, we had to approach various levels of organizations and also remove roadblocks, because first was approaching the drug companies, then it was going through various medical fraternities for support, then it was also going to the Drug Controller of India, then the MOHFW, then once the compassionate programs were here in India, it was assistance to every individual family. Reaching out to them for them to get a chance to be on compassionate usage program was a big task. Number 1 was communication and reach. So we reached out to people individually through various social media platforms, through various centers of excellence, through other medical organizations, and we reached out to them communicating that these compassionate usage programs are there and they have different criteria. So if any of you are eligible, you must try for these compassionate usage programs. Now, once that was happened, there was again blockages in terms of ethical committee, giving the permissions, because these drugs were like, for example, Risdiplam was not approved when the compassionate usage was program. It was very near. It was an FDA approval, but not approved yet. So going through where the large ethical committees of the government hospitals and trying to convince them about how important this drug is, and for the survival of the children of SMA was another task. Then helping the people who were selected, a lot of paperwork and file work, and even reaching out to the hospitals, getting all the tests done. It was all supported by FSMA. I'll just tell you, I mean, apart from the three companies giving a lot of compassionate usage under various programs and rounds, we also have Roche. Not only has it provided compassionate usage program, but also successfully launched the SMA drug commercially as approved by Drug Controller of India. Now, this was again a very big achievement because there is a commercial oral drug available in India launched for the treatment of SMA. Awareness of treatment options to patients and medical fraternity has been a continuous endeavor even now. Now, we come from treatment to care for SMA patients. Like, we are fortunate that there are three treatments, but the affordability is a big question. And whether you are on treatment or you're without treatment, a lot of care needs to be taken for SMA patients. And this is a comprehensive disease management is required, which is including counseling, nutrition, physiotherapy, orthopedic care, pulmonary care, critical care, mental health, mobility access. These children have very weak muscles. So right from breathing difficulties to swallowing, to digestion, to orthopedic, through muscle weakness, through lack of mobility, so many things that the parents go through, and so much of maintenance and assistance is required. And, so we actually provide all of that. So FSM has held various medical camps and virtual seminars with the medical fraternities, providing SMA patients with knowledge and learning of various aspects of encounter to daily basis for disease management. So if you can see here, we have pulmonary respiratory workshop, we've had mobility and access workshop, we've had spine care workshop, we've had total care camps where we put them through various doctors, and we have occupational therapy, physiotherapy workshops, mental health workshops, so various workshops where so earlier we were having a lot of them online, and now we have sustained them through offline representation, but we keep providing knowledge to SMA patients on various aspects. This is again care for SMA being continued, and we've, as you can see, we've had different, these are online seminars on occupational therapy, on mental health, on, this is on basically pulmonary care and all of that. Now, as part of our awareness programs, we've not only reached to the government and the medical fraternity, but collecting patients and also, motivating patients or SMA to reach out has been a very important part of the SMA journey in India. We ran a campaign in August, SMA, which was 30 days, 30 stories campaign. And we actually received more than 30 stories. So every day we were posting 3 or 4 or 5 stories, and it was really interesting. It's all on a social media platform. But these are beautiful stories of real people. I mean, here you can see Seba. Seba has been, the way she writes, last month I watched the movie called Zotha in television. This is probably the 5th time I'm watching the same. I love to travel. I want to go to Paris, but I'm not able to. It's her story. She's suffering from motor neuron disease and SMA, and she cannot go out, and she loves to travel. So she likes to paint. So now she likes to paint. She's completely bedridden. She just uses her hands and she tries to paint where she wants to go. And so it was a beautiful story of a journey, and we've had various stories of this, and this campaign was very successful because a lot of people attach a lot of stigma, and our thing was that as an SMA community, we don't want just to focus on what is not their ability, but rather what they're good at. So if she's good at painting or somebody is good at acting, they should come out with those abilities. And SMA kids are extremely intelligent, so that has been a gift from God. There's another awareness program that we've run, which is extremely interesting, which is SMA fighters mein hai dam. Now, for those who you don't know Hindi, it actually means that SMA fighters have strength, And, you know, I mean, the disease actually says that they lack muscle strength, but they have strength, they have resilience, and they have capabilities and talent. So we ran a campaign where, you know, we actually had an award also, a small cash prize and a thing to be given to the thing. And we had these entries coming, whether you can, whatever you do, you know, whatever is your ability, just showcase that on a video, and we put it on various social media platforms. So I'll just run one of these videos for you all. One second. Yes. This is Sahitya. Sahitya he cannot walk. He's an SMA type 2 kid. But he plays beautiful keyboard, and that's his ability. And unfortunately, in the last 1 year, because of COVID and other things, he's got a lot of muscle weakness on his arms and fingers also. And we don't know how long he'll be able to play and enjoy his music. I'll play another video. This is of my niece. She's a type 1 kid, and she cannot do anything. You know, she has no movement, but she is super intelligent and she loves to sing. And here on Independence Day, she sang our national anthem, and it just brings tears to my eyes. I'm sorry, but I'll just play.
Very good. Jai Hind.
So the campaign had two-folded messages. We got immense number of videos, and we have so many videos on our social media platform where kids are painting. You know, one of our kids painted live for Narendra Modi ji, PM, and presented to them. Then there are different who like to dance. They're sitting on the chair and they like to dance. And so we showed all those abilities, and it was a great campaign personally. Sorry. I'm just trying to go to the next slide. Yeah. Now, we've also, because the kids are very intelligent, and most of them, the ones, especially the type 2 and 3s, have been, you know, toppers in terms of their degrees and their education. And they can actually contribute a lot to the society. So we have done collaborations with various education and employment online platforms for them. So we had this partnership with Perspectivo, and we also had a partnership with GTT Connect, where they are providing resume training, interview training, career psychology sessions, training programs, career counseling, employment opportunities. And two of our members actually have got through, you know, two very nice jobs because of counseling and employment opportunities through GTT. And this has actually been run by our young team of warriors. You know, these are young FSMA members who are really working a lot on this. So the current scenario is that SMA is still the #1 genetic killer of children under 2 years old, and urgent need of treatment is required for type 1 kids. there is a lot of progression that is happening in type 2 and type 3 kids also, and the current treatments available can stop the progression, but they are extremely expensive and non-affordable by anybody, and we do not have any support by any government or insurance or corporate right now. Many young children and adults are progressively moving, like I said. An approved treatment by Roche is available, which is an oral drug. It can be easily assessed, but due to lack of structured funding and affordability, can't get it. So what we are doing about it right now, we're doing several meetings with the Government of India, MOHFW, and state governments to organize funding for treatment of SMA. We are collaborating with various crowdfunding platforms for raising funds. We are organizing medical conferences for awareness of new SMA treatments, possibilities, and newborn screening for all medical professionals. Other focus areas have been education, employment, newborn screening, insurance, and facilitating more humanitarian access programs for treatment and care, and all of it. And we're looking at multi-stake holders providing an ecosystem for cure and care for SMA patients in India. And we reach out to all. So keeping SMA patients in center, we have Government of India, we have medical fraternities, we have international support groups, care and maintenance through various clinics and workshops, corporate CSR programs, community crowdfunding, pharma companies, patient advocacy. We want to reach out to everyone, and we want them to work together to provide and make better lives for these beautiful, beautiful children and adults. This is it. That is all I have. And one thing more I would like to say, that there's a lot of, other than FSMA, there's a lot of awareness that has been generated by parents, and the reach has gone up to your film celebrities and television celebrities actually talking about SMA, a disease which was completely unknown even to doctors before, is now being reached to the common household and every television screen of people. So much so that one of the parents through a crowdfunding platform reached out to Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And SMA was talked by two, Deepika Padukone, who's an actress, and another one there. So in terms of awareness also in SMA, it has happened a lot. And it is, we are fortunate that we have treatments available, and the unfortunate part is that the reach is beyond anybody today, and we have no support for funding. So it is very heartbreaking when you see a possibility and hope, and you're not able to access that hope. And through all these collaborations, we really want to get some sort of a funding and access to these medicines for all patients of SMA in India. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gitanjali. I think everybody is, they have tears rolling down their eyes. Thank you. Kavya is so brave. One thing, I don't see any questions coming in, and we are already a little late, but definitely one of the things that everybody knows about SMA because of the wide campaigns that are for crowdfunding. That is a beautiful thing that many more people are becoming aware, but it is also sad that people are having to raise money. There are so many treatments available and patients are not able to afford them. I think it was Abby Myers who said that for treatments to be accessible, they need to be affordable. So definitely there's still a lot more work to be done, and we are fortunate to be able to work with you, and we hope everybody can work together to make this a reality, that whatever
Thank you so much, Nisha.
will be accessible. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next speaker, we will be hearing from Ms. Shani Weber, who is the Community Education Director at Ehlers-Danlos Society. She manages the society's helpline and message board and various virtual support groups. She's also, she has designed the world's first ECHO program for rare diseases, which is the project EDS ECHO. And she's a wonderful person who helps everybody. And I think this is because she has an experience and background as a childhood special ed teacher. She uses these skills to help her fellow community members. Ms. Shani Weber, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nisha. And I'm so thrilled to be able to speak to everyone at your wonderful conference. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And here we go. So I'm the Community Education Director with the Ehlers-Danlos Society. As with most rare diseases, I'm sure many of you, or most of you, or all of you have no idea what types of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes and hypermobility spectrums are, because they're rare conditions. Many have not been educated about them. And so I'm here today to talk with you about how do we educate and support the healthcare professionals to be aware of and know how to better treat or diagnose a rare disease. And how do you support the community of rare disease patients? And if you're curious, types of EDS and HSD. These are a group of genetic connective tissue disorders, mostly affecting collagen in the body, a particular type of collagen in the body. Because collagen is found throughout the body, symptoms can be found in every body system and location. Joint dislocations are common, gastrointestinal issues are common, fragile skin is common. One type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is the vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, shortens lifespans due to aortic dissections, due to rupture of hollow organs. And so without properly being diagnosed or monitored, the lifespan may only be in the teens to 30s. However, with accurate diagnosis and proper monitoring and medical intervention when necessary with aneurysms and so forth, there are people living with vascular EDS now who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s. And so it's vital to educate healthcare professionals and to support those living with these conditions. So I hope that the programs the Ehlers-Danlos Society offers are helpful to your community and how to educate those doctors. I have no conflicts or interest of interest to declare. Medical professionals in their training are often taught, when you hear hoofbeats, don't think of zebras, think of horses, right? Think of what's more common, not what would be rare in your area. For this reason, the rare diseases are often represented by zebras, to kind of say like, hey, sometimes it is a zebra, we're here. But also, zebras each have a unique stripe pattern. We are all different, and yet we share so many of the same experiences, those living with a rare disease. Today, I'm going to talk with you about Project ECHO and give the example of the EDS ECHO programs that the Society offers. I'm going to talk with you about conferences and medical symposiums, helpline emails and calls, virtual support groups, and Inspire, which is another platform that could really help your community. So let's start with Project ECHO. Project ECHO was started in the 1980s. It started actually with focusing on hepatitis. And what the founders wanted to do is figure out a way to educate doctors around the world, in urban areas, in rural areas, in all countries, in how to recognize hepatitis, how to diagnose it, how to treat it. And this was a wildly successful program. They did this as technology evolved virtually and created kind of a spoke and hub system so that experts of hepatitis had participants join their meetings to discuss cases of their own patients who have hepatitis, so that they could discuss with world experts in the disease how to treat this. Healthcare professionals cannot be experts in every single health condition in the world. And so having that opportunity to connect with experts in a condition patients have can really help both the healthcare provider and the patients they are seeing get better care. The Ehlers-Danlos Society was the very first organization to offer, to be granted the opportunity to offer echo programs for a rare disease. Now, thankfully, there are more and more. Not as many as there should be, but there are more and more. And the programs that we offer a general one for clinicians about all types of EDS and HSD and common comorbid conditions and how do you treat. Think of this as virtual grand rounds for the clinicians in our audience. We also offer a program specifically for allied health professionals. You can imagine, since joint dislocations are common, that physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and the like are needed by the patient community. And so they too need to better understand conditions and how to safely treat their patients. We offer EDS Echo drop-in sessions where our EDS expert clinicians have basically an office hour, if you will, that clinicians from around the world can join in that hour and ask any question that they want of these, talk about whatever they need to regarding their patient's care about these conditions. We offer one specifically about pediatrics. How do these conditions present and need to be treated in the pediatric population? And so clinicians, allied health professionals can join this program if they see the pediatric population. We have one specifically for vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, VEDS. That's the one you might recall that I mentioned that shortens lifespans. We are the first Project Echo partner to offer an echo program for community members. This is the one that I created and run. And what we've been doing is EDS Echo advocacy. I welcome other speakers in all kinds of advocacy, be it fundraising, be it raising awareness and education on social media, whether it's public speaking, whether it's advocating with governments and elected officials, whether it's the research process and how patients can get involved from the planning all the way through publishing, all the way that community members can be part of advancing the mission for our community. Today, actually, I had my very last EDS Echo session with attendees from around the world, including India. In 2022, something in my throat. In 2022, I am launching the Community Leaders and Education Program. I am changing the focus to target the leaders and educators in our community in teaching others self-management skills, self-advocacy skills. It takes so long before they can see a doctor. The wait lists are long, years in some cases. What can patients do in the meantime? And so our goal here is to educate the leaders and educators in our community to help people all over the world who have these conditions or are suspected to have these conditions to better manage, to live better with their conditions while they are in between the medical appointments.
Ms. Weber, last minute mark.
Okay, I'm going to speed through. And this is the minute hub and thing. We hold conferences and symposiums for both medical professionals and community members. Now we are starting, thanks to the pandemic, we forevermore are going to have this hybrid where we'll have both virtual and in person once we can return to in person. We do offer a junior zebra program for kids and teens. It's very important to have kids and teens connect with each other. And then our EDS and HSD experts, when it's in person, hold consultations with patients as they've never been able to see an expert in the field. We offer a helpline, emails and calls. This can be time consuming. Consider how much time this takes and staff accordingly. Helplines in patient organizations often are for medical information, not giving medical advice. And so knowing that difference, what are you educating about? We offer virtual support groups, which people attend from all around the world, whether they're general, whether they're demographic, like a men's group, a parents group, or a specific type of EDS group. So both general for everyone in the community, but breaking it down to kids and teens groups, for instance. But think about your time zones. When do you set a virtual support group meeting when you have attendees from both the US and India? When's the best time to hold that meeting, right? Think about that. How often do you want to have it, and do you want to have registration? Inspire is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Inspire is a company who hosts the message boards of health condition organizations. There's lots of communities on Inspire. The Ehlers-Danlos Society's message board is on Inspire. But lots of other health conditions message boards are also on Inspire. These are moderated by both the organization as well as Inspire. There's search functions. You can find members who live near you. You can search to find others that have your same condition. You can write posts and get lots of feedback from other members. But you can also use the find members function. Click and send a friend request and communicate with each other privately. I did a search before coming on today, and there are 275 members in the Ehlers-Danlos Society community who are in India, for example, who have a type of EDS or HSD. I'm able to find that, and I would be able to connect immediately with them if I learn about a new research opportunity, clinical trials, treatments, conferences, or anything like that. So you can let your community members who are in a certain area know when there are opportunities to enjoy. So make a difference through education, support, raise awareness, advocate, research. These are all important for those of us living with a rare disease. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And thank you. I really appreciate the time that you've given me today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Weber, for your time. And I think it's amazing, especially in the case of EDS, which has perhaps one of the longest diagnostic odysseys, so patients go through a lot. And there are such amazing programs, and adapting programs that have worked successfully for other diseases to a very specific rare disease was an amazing success. And I know other diseases have also taken this up. But what about the low tech public? How do, and India has a large number of those. Do you have any suggestions on how support and education can happen to that?
I definitely do. Making connections really matters. That's why you arranged a networking session at the end of each of these days. One of the things I teach others about is how to start local support groups, connecting people with a common interest. When you do that, you are able to then knock on doors, meet your neighbors. You are able to raise awareness locally by voice, by friendships, by connections. You can connect with others who have your same conditions or have the same struggles. For instance, connecting others with a rare disease, connecting with others who have a chronic pain condition, connecting with others who use wheelchairs, whatever the connection is, that you're able to connect people. And then the more those who have access to technology can be the bridge to those without that access, to those who are using technology, so that the communities can be combined and be one.
Definitely. That's really an amazing way. Each one teach one, right, in all aspects. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. I don't see any questions, ma'am. Perhaps people would want to engage with you directly during the networking session. So if there's any question for any of the earlier speakers as well, please feel free to post. But otherwise, we will move to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Ms. Weber, for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Our next speaker is from India, Ms. Ruby Chawla. She is the president of the Indian Patient Society for Primary Immunodeficiencies, or IPSPI. She's been instrumental in conducting a large number of workshops for raising awareness, many CMEs, as well as she's spoken in a number of conferences at numerous levels, like at regional, state, as well as national and international as well. She represents the primary immunodeficiency community to a large number of stakeholders, including the government of India. And she and her work has played a key role in inclusion of PIDs as a rare disease in India. She is passionate about raising awareness for PIDs, and I let her take it forward from here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nisha, Harsha, for giving me the opportunity to speak for primary immune deficiency diseases. I'll just share my screen. I'm beginning. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes,
Nisha, is my screen visible? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, support and education for primary immune deficiency disorders. Actually, our slogan is giving immunity to kids nature missed. PIDs, like you know, primary immune deficiency disorders are genetic diseases of the immune system where one or more components of the immune system is missing or does not work properly. So we have given this slogan, giving immunity to kids that nature has missed. Our aims and objectives are: we work to improve the quality of life of people with primary immune deficiencies in India. The main objective of the society is to secure early diagnosis and adequate treatment for all those affected with PIDs in accordance with current medical standards, to propagate and run awareness programs and projects for the treatment and education of PIDs amongst doctors, parents, legislators, and government officials. Our alliances: we are the national member organization of the umbrella organization globally, that is IPOPI, International Patients Organization for Primary Immune Deficiencies, which is a charity registered in UK. We are also full members of IAPO, that is International Alliance of Patients Organization, a global voice for patients. We are the members of INDOUSRARE. We also partner IORD, that is Indian Organization for Rare Diseases, as well as ORDI. We are also members of the WPA, World Patients Alliance. Like primary immune deficiencies, patients had too much problem, and how we cope during COVID-19 as one big nation was very challenging. We believe that in seamless flow of information and equal participation by all the members, efficient internal communication helps in quick flow of information among the group is the pillar of strength. Continuous discussion, giving efficient and smart administration and communication within the group. IPSPI has an active member base. Members understand the importance of internal communication for the success of activities and awareness events of the society. We ensure that the regional sentiments are always given equal weightage, as unity is the pillar to an organization's success and longevity. With our seamless flow of information by efficient internal communication using various social platforms, we aim to achieve goals of our society with unity in diversity of India. Challenges faced by India's PID community during COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the rise in COVID cases throughout the nation, the patients were at risk while stepping out of their house for intravenous immunoglobulin treatment, because IVIG, that is the intravenous immunoglobulin treatment, is the mainstay treatment for most common forms of PID. And this has to be taken regularly, that is every 3 to 4 weeks. In the difficult times where people were losing their respective jobs and businesses had undergone severe losses, it is extremely difficult for our patient community to cope with the cost of IVIG treatment and medicines. Although through continued efforts of IPSPI and its nationwide patient community, we have been able to get the treatment coverage for PID patients in some of the states via state government, but the vision of the free treatment in all states of India is yet to be realized. IPSPI actively disseminates knowledge of COVID-19 vaccine as advised by our doctors to PID community, because our PID community can't take live vaccines. So the attenuated ones were advised by them, the killed one. So as a result, most of our adults got vaccinated, but vaccination drive for children remains a challenge in the coming days. Some of our recent activities: we had Asian Advocacy Workshop in April 2021, which was organized by our international organization IPOPI. Here you can see one slide. IPSPI representatives, KCL and Raw Secretary and Rishi Chawla Executive Member participated in the workshop, and we were highly appreciated. The insightful presentation was given on internal communication by our secretary and was applauded. We happened to attend the webinar on patient safety during COVID-19 in the Eastern Mediterranean region by World Health Organization in July 21. And there was a great insight on how they managed during COVID-19 pandemic. And it was a great knowledge for us. The PGI SPID initiative, Chandigarh was taken for the primary immune deficiency courses, and it was great attending the program. Global Rare Disease Conference on International Rare Diseases Day there was a webinar in February 2021, and it was quite insightful. Asia Pacific Society for Immune Deficiencies 2020 was organized by PGI Chandigarh, and IPSPI held a booth there. So here are some slides, and even we had a presentation over there. World Primary Immune Deficiency Week 2019. You can see that we did it with AMSA, Asia Medical Students Association, as well as we supported the ORDI event for Race for 7. Then we had WPIW 2021. We did it with Plasma Gen Biosciences. So here are some of the ones. We awarded the certificates to the children who had attended and to the participants. We did it. We did this walk for awareness of PID in Jantar Mantar, New Delhi, and we did it in collaboration with the Asia Medical Students Association, India. So there were a lot of participants, and it was good to educate them on PID, because what are the 10 warning signs that the pamphlets were given to them, and it was quite mostly the medical students, they even don't know about PID. Like, they came to know about primary immune deficiency diseases with this event. The IPSPI held a booth in international conference on PID, which was held in Leela Hotel, Mumbai in 2019. And there were distinguished speakers there, and international scientists. We had a CME on PID in Kalinga Institute of Medical Sciences, KIT University, that is in Odisha, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. And that was a first CME program in the Eastern region, which was very much attended by the founder of KIT University. And under the chairmanship of the KIT University, it was held. Then in Hindu Raw College, also we had the program, CME program in New Delhi. We had a Asia meeting in Bangkok, and Indian Organization for Rare Diseases under the chairmanship of Dr. Ramaiah Mutyala. We had a program of rare diseases in Vigyan Bhavan, Delhi. So there have been so many events we have been conducting, because World Primary Immune Deficiency Week is observed globally, and is organized by our International Patients Organization for Primary Immune Deficiency, which is observed in April, in the month of April, annually, every year. So that is the time when we try to raise much of awareness on primary immune deficiencies, because early diagnosis is only the key to save lives and prevent permanent organ damage. Because primary immune deficiencies, whenever it affects the patients, then if it is not picked up, when the patients are not picked up in time, then they can have permanent organ damage. And so early diagnosis is very, very important. And so educating the medical fraternity is also very important. So we have done a lot of CMEs, continuing medical education programs, so that the cases can be picked up in time and we can save lives. So this was the WPIW 2020, which was organized in MAMC, Maulana Azad Medical College, LN Hospital, Lok Nayak Hospital in New Delhi in 2019 as well as 2020. under the chairmanship of Dr. Urmila Jham, which is the HOD of Pediatrics Department. Then CME on PID on 8th August 2019, again we had one workshop we had, and then we had the CME. Now, rare diseases like PID have to be taken a lot of care, and they are a challenge to medical care, no doubt. While some PIDs are very rare, for example, severe combined immune deficiencies, others are more common. For example, selective IgA deficiency. Together diagnosed PIDs affect around 1% in 1200. It is estimated that 10 million people suffer with primary immune deficiencies worldwide. And based on that, more than 1 million in India are estimated to suffer from primary immune deficiencies. Uh, uh, with so much awareness, like having regular awareness camps along the medical fraternity as well as the general public, uh, currently more than 1,300 PID patients nationwide have been diagnosed. The most common forms of PID patients diagnosed suffer from hypogammaglobulinemia, that is common variable immune deficiency, CVID, Bruton's disease or X-linked agammaglobulinemia, XLA, CGD, then chronic granulomatous disease. Now, for the very severe forms of PIDs, actually bone marrow transplantation, BMT, is the treatment. Whereas for the common forms of PID like CVID and XLA, intravenous immunoglobulin works well. So that is the IVIG replacement therapy, which has to be taken every 3 to 4 weeks according to the body weight. So achievements of IPSPA, if I say, like our great efforts and lobbying for more than a decade with central and state governments of India has resulted in inclusion of primary immune deficiencies in government agenda. Primary immune deficiencies treatment is provided by government under national health schemes in some states of India. We reiterate that IPSPI has been struggling from last 17 years for the survival of PID patients. So for the first time in Indian history, our children diagnosed in time and taking regular treatment are now adults and leading social, productive, rewarding lives. You can like us on Facebook, IPSPI. We are on Instagram. Our website is also there, ipspiindia.org. So thank you very much. Here I can end with a few lines of Robert Frost, which goes very well whenever I think about the long journey we have done so far. So the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. So we have done so much, but still there is more to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Ruby Chawla, for this really wonderful talk. So much work that has gone in. We have one question from a speaker, Mark Yale from the US. He asks if IVIG cost is prohibitive in India because it's quite expensive in the US. In India.
Yeah, IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulins, like it is according to body weight, we give around 500 mg per kg of the body weight, and the cost is for a 5-gram vial, it is around 15,000 rupees. 15 to 20,000 rupees. So that is the MRP. But like being an organization and working for the welfare of the patients, we directly contact the companies which are manufacturing IVIG. Actually, firstly, it was being imported from outside India. So like it was coming out from outside India, it was being imported. But now there are manufacturers in India itself who are manufacturing IVIG. And we work with the plasma and blood collection industry also, so that more and more plasma is collected, and IVIG can be manufactured locally, so that the costs are reduced. And when we talk directly to the companies, they give it in less cost also. The pricing is a little low for the regular patients who are using it. So it comes to around 5 grams costs around 8,000 rupees INR.
Okay. Is there some financial support from that is arranged from IPSPI for any patients? Any such funding
No,
program?
financial support, like it is very difficult by the organization, because this is an ongoing treatment and this is a lifelong treatment. Moreover, the child, when the child is small, he starts with 5 grams, and within no time he has to take 10 grams, then 20 grams. So according to body weight, the dosage increases. So it is really difficult. So we are continuously working with the governments, with the center and state governments, because that's the way the international organizations, they told they did. And because this is IVIG is manufactured from plasma. So plasma collection, blood collection has to be done, and the companies have to manufacture it, and the government have to get from them and give it to our patients. So that's the way we are working. And some states, it's good that like government has given an ear to us, and now like in most of the states, almost 10 states, IVIG is being given by the government to the patients.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful work.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of us. Thank you everybody who has been here. We have 2 more talks from our guest speakers. I know it's getting late for people in India, but if you have any questions, please do raise them in the Q&A box. And yeah, ma'am, there's one question from another person who asks, from your experience, what is your guidance to get newer rare diseases included in the government agenda? You are on mute, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Actually, to include rare diseases in government agenda, like you have to continuous lobby with the government, with the central government, and make them understand like how the early diagnosis is important and the treatment is important, and how many are affected, and how many have been diagnosed so far. So they have to understand and then include it and bring it in government agenda. And that's the way we did actually. It's not in 1 visit or 2 visits, but you have to be continuously, you have to work with them, lobby with them.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the amazing work that you do. We'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker, oops, is, sorry, there was a mistake in this, is Mr. Mark Yale, who is the Advocacy and Research Coordinator at the International Pemphigus and Pemphigoid Foundation. He himself is a patient who was diagnosed with pemphigoid. It's a rare disease, rare autoimmune disease, and he has held multiple positions within IPPF and has done immense work in raising awareness as well as towards the research and advocacy as well. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Nisha. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And okay, great. So thanks again, Nisha. My name is Mark Yale, and I am the Advocacy and Research Coordinator for the International Pemphigus and Pemphigoid Foundation, also known as the IPPF. I'd like to thank Indo-US Rare for giving me the opportunity to present today and share information about pemphigus and pemphigoid and the foundation. Pemphigus and pemphigoid are rare autoimmune diseases that affect a very small percentage of the population. There are many different autoimmune diseases, and they all affect different parts of the body in different ways. Pemphigus and pemphigoid are chronic illnesses that are rare and do not improve without active treatment. So the four major types of pemphigus include pemphigus vulgaris, pemphigus foliaceus, IgA pemphigus, and paraneoplastic pemphigus. And there are three predominant types of pemphigoid, including bullous pemphigoid, mucous membrane pemphigoid, cicatricial pemphigoid, or also called mucous membrane pemphigoid. That's the condition that I have. And then pemphigus gestationis, which is a variant of pemphigus that happens in women that are pregnant. So our rare diseases story isn't unique. Pemphigus and pemphigoid each affect fewer than 50,000 people in the United States, classifying these disorders as to seeing pemphigus and pemphigoid in practice. In 2011, in a study, we found that healthcare providers, patients had to see 5 healthcare providers over a 10-month period just to get diagnosed. So we also know that facts that are true about these diseases. Notice our numbers are well below the threshold. So the IPPF is here to support patients and caregivers, and many patients find the IPPF as a means of support and information. This is our vision to find a cure for pemphigus and pemphigoid. And of course, our mission is to improve the quality of life for all people affected by pemphigus and pemphigoid through early diagnosis and support. And there is a huge prevalence of areas. The first focus area for our organization is patient support. And the IPPF offers a variety of free patient services to help you live an active and productive life. Our Peer Health Coach program consists of pemphigus and pemphigoid patients who help more than 1,200 patients and caregivers every year. These specially trained peer health coaches reduce patient anxiety and uncertainty while providing unbiased disease and treatment knowledge. The IPPF holds patient education webinars and an annual patient conference each year that feature leading pemphigus and pemphigoid physicians and scientists. These free webinars and conferences are friendly and casual in a casual environment so that patients can learn more about specific disease topics. Living with pemphigus and pemphigoid is hard enough, but when you feel alone, it seems even harder. There's something special about connecting with other people who really know what you've been going through. So the IPPF has created local and regional support groups to help facilitate these connections. And this is a list of the regional support groups in the United States. And then additionally, the IPPF offers international support through organizations in many other countries. We're currently trying to launch a support group network in India. We actively participate in a consortium of international leaders, as well as host international and scientific meetings. Currently, there are international support groups in Australia, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Italy, and the UK. The IPPF does maintain a map. Yes.
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your video is pausing in between. Maybe it's an internet issue. If you could switch off your video for a while, maybe people would be able to hear better.
Okay.
Thank you.
The IPPF maintains a map of medical and dental professionals at no cost, and without preference to any physicians. The purpose of this map is to provide patients with contact information for medical and or dental professionals familiar with these diseases. And currently we have over 300 international doctors on the list and well over 300 doctors within the US. Is that better, Nisha?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Not advancing. There we go. We also have a free library of medically reviewed educational documents that can help gain better understanding of the diseases. Some examples are the IPPF Patient Guide, which is a great document that explains what our diseases are, how they are diagnosed, and common treatment options. The Patient Checklist is a great document that can help organize information related to doctor appointments. And then we also have the Quarterly Journal, which is online and shares articles written by researchers, patients, and healthcare experts. And probably most importantly is Rare Connect. Rare Connect is a safe and easy platform where disease patients, families, and patient organizations can develop online communities and conversations across continents and languages. Rare Connect partners with the world's leading rare disease patient groups to offer global online communities, allowing people to connect around issues that affect them living with rare diseases. So there is a pemphigus and pemphigoid community as well as other communities on Rare Connect. So I encourage you to go to the EURODIS website and check it out globally. To accelerate diagnosis time of pemphigus and pemphigoid patients. Since the majority of patients present with oral symptoms first with our disease, the Biopsy Saves Lives program focuses on pemphigus vulgaris and mucous membrane pemphigoid, the two forms of increased presentation in the mouth. Patients often see a dentist first as one of their first clinical contacts. Therefore, outreach is really important, and it's directed to dental professionals through student continuing education as well as professional education. So that way we can shorten diagnosis times. So to accelerate the times takes patients to get diagnosed, we encourage medical professionals to ask their patients a few questions so it can help narrow down the diagnosis and help determine if a biopsy is really warranted. A biopsy in our disease can play an important role in the time it takes a patient to start the correct treatment. Our patient educator program sends well-spoken patients into universities around the US. We currently have presented in 22 dental schools around the country, including Harvard Medical School of Dental Medicine, New York University College of Dental Medicine, and the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. And we do offer professional education through in-person virtual presentations, as well as online courses that we've developed through with our educational partners. The IPPF also exhibits at major dental conferences to help spread the Biopsy Saves Lives message. Before new treatment therapies can be developed, investigators need to better estimate the prevalence of the disease, and this is where research comes into play. We work on studying pathophysiology, understanding treatment patterns, and assess the burden of these diseases in patients. The IPPF encourages research by conducting our natural history study, hosting those scientific symposia that I mentioned earlier, and periodically offering research grants. We do maintain a library of clinical trial information for researchers and healthcare professionals. The IPPF Natural History Study is a patient registry sponsored by the National Organization for Rare Disorders and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. This online data system collects, stores, and retrieves patient data for analysis in research studies. And we launched this back in 2017 and have been collecting data ever since. Clinical trial education is critical in the development of therapies for our rare disease. So with this in mind, we provide a dedicated section on our website to education and links to specific trials about pemphigus and pemphigoid. So if you're looking for specific trials, you can find them there. The IPPF, as I mentioned, is engaged by holding to be at the forefront of research for our disease. The final area of focus for the IPPF is our advocacy efforts. As Anisha had mentioned, the IPPF has led the way in voicing the needs of pemphigus and pemphigoid patients and the community. Together, we drive favorable policies by reaching out to legislators and decision makers to inform them about our public policy concerns and pemphigoid. Is really the root cause of many of our patients' issues. This is due to factors such as population size, lack of approved treatments, few clinical trials in the US and abroad, and especially uncovered off-label therapies, which are too expensive. Many patients experience high copays, are forced to use step therapy, or not even able to get treatments at all from their prescribed from their physicians. So we work closely with our like-minded advocacy partners, including INDOUSRARE on federal and state level, and also international policies supportive of the needs of the rare disease patients and their families. In 2021 has been certainly a busy year in advocacy for the IPPF in spite of the pandemic. This year, we visited over 120 congressional offices. We held an FDA patient listening session, and have worked really hard to advocate for greater access for rare disease patients across the globe. So I'd like to thank all of you for your time and for learning about pemphigus and pemphigoid and the IPPF. With me today, I'd like to wish everyone attending good health. It is an exciting time for the rare disease community. There is, however, much to learn, as the previous speaker had mentioned, and discover with our continued commitment that we will improve the lives of all those affected by rare diseases. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mark. I don't see any questions, and we are at the top of the hour. So we will move on to the next speaker, and then we will get to questions in the networking session. That's all right. Thank you for the amazing presentation. Our next speaker is Ms. Beth Bowman. She's the Research Services Coordinator at the National Ataxia Foundation. She is a master's student now, Master of Public Health in one of the top 10 schools of public health in the US. And as her role at NAF, she oversees multiple different programs, and including advocacy research as well as education and awareness. Beth, over to you.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. My name is Beth Barman, as mentioned before. I'm from the National Ataxia Foundation. We're based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota in the United States. So thank you, everyone. I know it's getting late, and some of you for where you are. So thank you for hanging in with me. And I'll be speaking today about support and education for ataxia patients that we do. So I want to start out with a little bit about the National Ataxia Foundation and what is ataxia. So ataxia is a degenerative disease of the nervous system. It affects the cerebellum, which handles most of our coordinated movement. So many of the symptoms of ataxia mimic those of being drunk, which could look like slurred speech, stumbling, falling, and incoordination. Also can affect your swallowing, many other things as well. Ataxia does not discriminate. It attacks all genders, all ages, all types of people, and in all phases of their lives. and it can look different in every single person. Ataxias also represent a collection of more than 100 rare diseases, and the NAF represents all of those. NAF's mission is to accelerate the development of treatments and a cure while working to improve the lives of those living with ataxia. And our vision, our big worldwide vision, which is similar to many other nonprofits' vision, is a world without ataxia. But in the meantime, ensuring nobody experiences ataxia alone until nobody experiences ataxia, period. So a lot of these topics have been mentioned already today, but there's a huge importance for patient education and clinical trial readiness. And I think there's three big parts to that: connectivity, recruitment, and patient voice. For connectivity, bridging the gap between regulators, industry partners, clinicians, patients, and the community and caregivers and supporters is so huge in coming to clinical trial readiness. Participating in a clinical trial or taking a new treatment, doing a new treatment, that can be a big thing for somebody's life, or even for a pharmaceutical company too. So it does take connectivity between all different levels and support from all levels as well. Recruitment, ataxia, ataxia is a rare disease, so it's a small population, which presents a challenge already, as many other rare diseases too. We have to have a big enough population to participate in clinical trials, and then even out of that population, eligible people, and out of that population, willing people. So education increases people's autonomy and choices to participate in clinical trials. If people are understanding why they're doing a clinical trial, or the reasons behind it, or how it could benefit, in addition to the risks or harm, that will increase recruitment. And finally, the patient voice in the drug development process. So most meaningful treatments, most impactful symptoms, all of that is super important for clinical trial readiness. So what we have done here at NAF is developed the Drug Development Collaborative. It's a group of pharmaceutical companies, and it's an option for them to partner with NAF to increase treatment possibilities. It started after increased interest in ataxia from pharmaceutical companies, and NAF had to balance increased interest from pharmaceutical companies along with our community's needs as well. We are a patient advocacy organization, and our patients and our community do come first. But obviously our mission and our goal is to advocate for a treatment and accelerate that timeline. So we want to balance both of those needs. So the DDC was born, and the DDC recognized as a group that there wasn't a lot of education specific to ataxia, as I'm sure many other rare diseases as well, on clinical trials, on what that could mean, on specific things that could happen in an ataxia clinical trial, and current information. There's a ton of information out there about other diseases or even just general information, but nothing directed to our community. And that's how the Clinical Trial Readiness Initiative and the patient panels developed. And we have continued rising and changing those based on the community and the DDC's needs. So the Clinical Trial Readiness Initiative, it's a series of education materials that we developed for the ataxia community. It was launched in July of 2021. It consists of many things. First, we did support group visits, and I've heard many other people speak about those today. Members of NAF staff have gone themselves to support groups, and we also have had done a leader training. So we recruit all of our support group leaders to come to a training so they are able to present to their support groups on being clinical trial ready and some of the information, and just on the initiative in general, and showing them and advertising it for them, along with research department visits. So our department has gone to those support groups too. The formats are articles, infographics, videos, webinars, quizzes. We keep trying new things to try and increase engagement, and we have noticed that changing it up has increased engagement as well. Infographics are quick and easy to read, and articles, you're able to get a lot of core information out there. And so some of the topics that we've used, What is informed consent, and what are some of the things, what are your rights around informed consent? Basic things like what is a placebo and what is a placebo-controlled trial, all the way to COVID-19 and clinical trials, and specific to the ataxia community. We've noticed many ataxia clinical trials are requiring vaccination. So we talked a little bit about that as well. And we're expanding to do CSF donation, which is cerebral spinal fluid donation. And that's a huge thing for ataxia clinical trials, and something that our community really struggles with comfort levels, which is totally understandable. So educating them, we have a clinician who is educating on what it would look like, risk and benefit, things that why we need CSF. And then we have some patients also speaking on their personal experience. And then finally, the final aspect of the Clinical Trial Readiness Initiative as of right now are the patient panels. So we have an ad hoc panel, which is a panel that is pretty much just on standby the whole time for our pharmaceutical partners in the DDC. And they are able to utilize them at any time for quick questions, hop on a Zoom call and ask them about certain things, a survey. But more importantly, we have quarterly patient and caregiver panels. So we have DDC roundtables, and once a quarter, we recruit 5 or 6 patients or caregivers from the community to speak directly to our pharmaceutical partners to really amplify the patient voice. So next steps for education for our community, we have continued patient panels. We're introducing bi-monthly webinars that will look like Q&A style, and many other things as well as we expand. Website landing page and advertising. We're hoping to get a specific website landing page on our website and advertise this initiative as well. So our community is encouraged and amplified to do that. Continue to use our DDC and our industry partners to advise us in how to move forward and what they need from our community and what our community needs for them. And increasing that engagement and recruitment for clinical trials. And that is it. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you, Beth. That was a wonderful, succinct presentation about patient education. We can move on to the networking session. So if anybody wants to ask, unmute themselves and ask Beth a question, that would be great. But I have a question, Beth. I know the focus was on patient education, but often in the case of rare diseases, we also, it's often the patients who know more. So what about being able to empower patients to be able to educate patients as educators, if I could rephrase it, for the medical community and for advocacy purposes? Is there any effort on that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point. So they often do know more, and their experience is oftentimes, I mean, it is the most important aspect. And that's kind of how we've used our patient panels, is they are able to speak directly to pharmaceutical companies and reps from them, and to our clinicians as well. We do have a natural history study too going on, and we utilize those physicians and those patients quite often. But the patient panels are patients educating pharmaceutical companies on what symptoms are most impactful to them. Obviously, we all want to cure and stopping progression of the disease, but in the meantime, if we can get certain, I know for ataxia patients, a certain, usually speaking, they lose their ability to speak. Sometimes that was a big one for them that they asked for medication or treatment on, or their gait and things like that. So they're able to educate pharmaceutical companies. And then also within our videos and stuff, those patient experience and those patient voices, educating fellow patients, fellow caregivers, and the community as well. So we're really trying to use our patient community because they definitely do know the most usually.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We have allowed all attendees to unmute themselves and ask anything you would like or discuss anything with the speakers as well as each other. Before we move on to that, I just have one more point that I'd like to make. It's a plug-in for our event tomorrow. Industry Day, where we have a distinguished panel of speakers who would be talking about patient advocacy in the industry. And after this, we would have a fireside chat with the legend, Mr. Frank Sasanovsky. So please tune in for that. Please feel free to speak. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Any questions anybody wants to ask, please feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, we had a question from Mr. Zia from India for National Ataxia Foundation. On do you have representation in India and you have patients in India, clinical trials in India? You emphasize quite a bit on clinical trials. Oftentimes patients living in India and other countries are unable to access these clinical trials, as most of the sites are located in the Western world. So there is a lot of interest in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And as of right now, no, we really don't, which is definitely a barrier we recognize. We do know there's a large population of ataxia patients in India. It's one of the largest to our knowledge. And that's one of the reasons we are part of INDOUSRARE is we're trying to get more representation in India and we're trying to expand more worldwide. We do have partners in like the UK. That's not near, but we are working to expand, and NAF is a small staff of 10 people. And so we're 12 now, I guess, 12. And we're expanding every day. And with that expansion, including my position, we're working to expand and get representation in India. So right now, no, but we recognize it and we're working on it.
That's great. We'll be happy to connect Mr. Zia with you, but it will be great if you both can have a conversation and explore potential collaborations.
Yes, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
He has a son with ataxia.
Hi, Harsha.
Yeah, Zia,
can I
please.
pop in now? Can I pop in now?
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was an interesting day again today. And Beth, it was fantastic listening to you. And in fact, I had been in touch with the NAF long back when my son was diagnosed with ataxia about 12, 13 years back. And then, not just NAF, but some other foundations also, I tried reaching out. But then at that time, I was told that it's all for their own nationals. So I really did not follow up. But then with the developments happening, I think there's a scope for expansion. There's a scope for, representation and all that. To just give a brief, my son has ataxia. It's AOA2. And he is currently, he works as an assistant professor of zoology. And we both volunteer in this rare disease segment, trying to general awareness creation. But then we would be interested more to follow up on a topic which is more close to our heart.
Great. Yeah, if you like to speak, please raise your hand. We would not like to put anybody on the spot if you are not prepared to speak. But all are invited and welcome to introduce yourself and maybe ask a question or make your comment. There is a raise hand button in Zoom. If you can indicate your interest in speaking, we can call you up. Or feel free to just unmute yourself and speak directly as well. While I see hands raising, I'll just say that fantastic talks. It was a great presentation from all our Patient Alliance members. We learned so much more about the work that you all are doing for your rare disease communities today. And we also took note of some action items that you kind of hinted at or even were explicit in calling out specific ways in which INDOUSRARE can fill certain gaps in how we can be a better bridge and facilitator in making those connections. We see making connections is the most important role that we can play between various stakeholders in US and India. Each one of you are already doing amazing work for your own communities, and we are only inspired to help increase the impact of that work. Yesterday, we saw that a medical doctor in India was very impressed to meet a researcher in India, that she was not aware that existed. And that person has, Dr. Binod Karia in this case, has been doing amazing work in India, and the doctor was not aware of it. So that's the type of connections we like to facilitate. Shani, please go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Just to get this conversation started in our networking session, I'd like to ask my other wonderful speakers of organizations, how do you address the language needs? As there's so many languages, whether you are an organization that's just in the US at this point, or whether you are an international organization, how do you make sure your materials, your webinars, your conferences, etc., are accessible to those who speak other languages?
Okay, we at FSMA are not really present in international perspective. And like, yeah, there are organizations on SMA working globally, but India is a very unique country, and we have many languages over here. And also, usually the business communication happens in English, while the local talking language is Hindi. And that also changes in every state, and the dialects are also very different. So one way is that whenever we are giving a communication out, we have definitely done that in 2 languages, that is English and Hindi, so that at least the local language can be understood. And the other thing what we do is that we have these members as local state representatives. So language is a big barrier in India. So if you are trying to reach someone in South, for example, they speak Tamil, and or a Telugu, it's a very different language. So we ask them to, every communication that goes from us to be translated in those major languages at least, and proofread by somebody then. And it is their responsibility of those representatives for that communication to go through various other members. So that's how we've been doing it. Another thing that we've really working on now, we've started working on now, is that, we've like, I'm personally from media, so I understand the power of video. And I feel that, whatever words you speak, the more impact you get is actually from what you see. So often, you create videos which actually tell more rather than typing or writing a thing. So even for basic things about care, when we started doing videos for physiotherapy, for occupational therapy by these, very good doctors. And we try to keep it as visual as possible, So that's another way of communication that we are following.
Thank you very much for that. At the Ehlers-Danlos Society, we've mostly used volunteers to translate different information on our website for their local languages, while trying to provide at least 5 languages on our conferences, virtual conferences, and those we actually hire a translation company. Those are held on Zoom, and so it's live translations while the event happens.
Shani, I know the IPF has like a language plugin on our website that gives the ability for people to see our website in Hindi as well as Punjabi. But as Geeta was saying, I mean, there's so many languages and dialects spoken in India. It's just really challenging. And even though we have that plugin on our website, still most of our materials are not in those languages. So it's a huge challenge and a huge barrier. And it's a difficult task to try to figure out how to overcome that. But I think the key is just try to be inclusive as much as we can. But it is definitely a challenge.
From the Indo-US Rare point of view, that's still a little bit of a last mile for us, in the sense we are focusing more to begin with on English, as most of the urban and metro cities in India are English literate. And there is literacy in local languages across the country, but literacy in English is still a challenge in rural parts especially. And so I think we need to do more work in that area. A very important aspect to be able to be really inclusive, right? We are not there yet.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Preeti, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Preeti, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Really great efforts by all of you, and it's been amazing to see some of your efforts actually be fruitful. And congratulations to all of you for that. I had a very general question to all of you actually. So I recognize that support groups or forums, whether it's online or offline, are they are very intrinsic and they're absolutely essential for people with any disease to get through on both on a daily basis and in general. So, but I do find that it's very rare that support groups are there in India, and those are for some of the well-known diseases. But for some of the rare diseases, it's very difficult to initiate and maintain support groups. So are there any suggestions or comments that you can provide to people who are actually trying to do something to facilitate people to get along and support each other through the tougher times?
Preeti, I think that's a great question. And I think, obviously with the pandemic, things have been exacerbated even more, right? So it's even harder to maintain a support group, especially if you're trying to do something in person. And so what we've found now is that, through social media or, virtual support groups is really kind of the way going forward to be able to connect with other patients with the disease. And so like I know through Facebook, there's an Indian support group for patients with pemphigus and pemphigoid. So there's a whole group with hundreds of patients that are connecting through Facebook. But I think as the IPPF expands our efforts, which we are definitely trying to do into India and create those support groups, it's going to have to be online because geographically, it's just too challenging to meet in person and to find, because these diseases are rare, it's even harder to find people that, have the same rare disease, even in your local area geographically. So I would say virtual or social media is really the way to try to get these groups going and maintain them.
True, yeah.
Preeti, I'd like to add over here, 13 years back when we started spinal muscular atrophy, or we came to know about spinal muscular atrophy, if I get the patient group, even the doctors didn't have enough knowledge about what is SMA in India, apart from major hospitals. And even the diagnosis was very difficult. So I would say that, if you're talking about another disease for which a patient group is not available right now, and someone who's affected and wants to start something new, the best is to, have a medical advisor with you first, like a good doctor and all, who would have a little database of patients who are suffering from the same disease. Try to get those patients together. And then maybe, initially just form a WhatsApp group and then start working on it. And then, there are so many patient groups of diseases which are not there in India, but are available globally, So
Yes.
with organizations like Indo-US Share, you can connect with them, or you can try and connect with them personally also and try to get more information and then start imparting that information with more India-centric problems, issues, and try to give answers or provide answers. It's a very tough battle. And
Exactly.
honestly, a lot of parents have to come together, and you will you will get resistance, you will have challenges, and it's also very difficult to keep the community together. Always happens, but the only thing is that you have to just keep moving forward and be positive about it. It's more of like what we say, that it's more of a duty or a worship that you feel when you're doing something like this, and
Right.
that is exactly what it is.
The spirit of
can I add something? Can I share something of? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. In the spirit of networking, I just want to add that Preeti is my junior from grad school. And so she also has the perspective of a young researcher. So if there's anything you want to add towards that end on how we can help, please do.
I can just share a little bit about my personal experience. As you mentioned in the introduction that you gave about me, I joined this organization in 2009. And eventually, in the next 5 years, I became active member of the executive committee. And thereafter, they chose me. I was elected as a president, and I still continue on that position. The real, I think, it's not, as parent support group, it's not about medicines. Parents would join a parent support group where they get answers to their daily problems, their routine issues, which get answered over there. So for medical assistants, they've got doctors, they've got clinicians to support them and to answer whatever issues and challenges. But how do I go beyond the medicines, which the clinicians who are not able to answer my questions? How do I do that? How do I integrate my child with the siblings around them? How do I make sure that my family is accepted by others, the community around me? How do I make sure that my child enjoys the quality of life with whatever abilities that she has? Those are questions which the clinicians would probably not be able to answer. And that's exactly what I tried to do ever since I joined the organization. I realized that the organization was only introducing me to clinicians and doctors and rehabilitation, which was a routine thing. I could have done that myself. So I was not really gaining anything out of it. So I started thinking out of the box in terms of saying, okay, I think these parents who are coming for these meetings or who are coming for these conferences are not really coming to interact only with the doctors. They're coming over here to find solutions for their individual personal issues, which are beyond the medical challenges, what they are seeing in their children. And that's what we started addressing. How do we get the disability certificates, for example? How do we get assistance from social organizations? How do they arrange for pensions, for example, from the government? So all those issues were not being addressed elsewhere. And that's what you need to work on. Even in the pandemic, we still managed to get all our parents together by organizing interesting webinars, interesting virtual programs. We had dance classes over there running for these children. It was so exciting. And we had a wonderful teacher who was joining us from Dubai. She was running classes for children with special needs. And she used to conduct these programs, and slowly we started out with a group of about 15 children, and we expanded to about 40 to 45 children joining in and enjoying that 1 hour session on a Sunday. It was so enjoyable for all of them. And that's what you need to work on. You can't just be saying that, okay, I will introduce you to clinicians and I will introduce you to rehabilitation specialists. That's the thing which will drive the parents to continue to join and spread the word around.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beth, I think you had your hand raised. Do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, Samir totally covered it. I completely agree. I was going to say it's all about, so for NAF, support groups are all about the non-medical stuff, or even just dealing with the day-to-day, and it's all the relationships that they build with each other. And NAF is definitely involved, and we do have a staff member dedicated completely to our support groups, which has helped with engagement a ton and really amplifying the voices of your patients and those leaders specifically. But it's all about that non-medical stuff. It's all about the relationships. And as an organization, you can give your support group leaders, or if you have people in support groups, you can give them material to talk about. Like, we found this information about genetic testing. You can share this. We did that with our clinical trial readiness. They like to learn that stuff. And that keeps them engaged. It gives them things to talk about when it's not even about, or when they, and then talk about the personal stuffs too. and just empathize and talk to each other and build relationships. And then meeting in person when possible helps a lot too. We have a patient conference and different types of support groups. So definitely just amplifying voices and giving them autonomy to lead on their own.
So I'll just add one more thing over here is that, like everybody said, that there's a common thread that connects everyone with these inpatient groups. And that is the issue that they're facing together. And it almost becomes like a family. And that's why people are connected to each other together. They have common problems and common issues, and everybody is facing the same. And in fact, whenever there's a new parent, they're very overwhelmed with the diagnosis initially. And, the learnings of other patients, parents become extremely valuable at that point of time, because they show a ray of hope, and they also show you the path to manage. They also show you that, you can survive with this, that there are things that they can be done, and that goes a long way. And that's why the parent, advocacy groups exist. And I think it's not just within the, particular disease. I feel that all of us can feel each other's pain, because we are facing a common problem, and we've all faced those difficulties, whether it is somebody who's come from Rett syndrome, or from SMA, or from, autism, or from any other rare disease. It is really that, the common pain is what is connecting all of us together, and we need solutions on various problems and matters. So I think support groups really connect on that thread, and that's why it literally becomes like a family.
Go ahead, Samir.
Yes.
That's a point which has been kind of bothering me, or rather, I have not been. Would it be possible, because when we talk as individuals representing various rare diseases, we still find a lot of commonality between, not only on the comorbidities that we see, but also on the medical side. We see a lot of common issues, being there. Like, for example, Gitanjali was talking about SMA and, breathing disorders, scoliosis, non-ambulatory. There are, so many issues which are still very common. Is it not possible that rather than us looking at individual, research coming up, some kind of joint research can be done where at least to begin with, let all of us get together. Let's pool in all the resources, whatever is possible, and try and build up a kind of a possibility which gives hope to everybody. Why are we looking out, just as what Dr. Shastri also mentioned? I mean, we are only looking at solutions to come to us on a platter. Why don't we pull in our resources? Why don't we pull in our abilities and whatever information and knowledge, whatever we can gather? Let's work individually, but work towards a common objective. It may not be about Rett syndrome, or it may not be specifically to SMA, or it may not be specific to ataxic, but let's all work together. And I am sure we can reach where all of us want individually, but if we get collected, I'm sure we can reach much faster and much quicker. I don't know whether it makes sense or not.
It makes a lot of sense, Samir. And National Institutes of Health has been driving this aspect or concept that we need to identify the commonalities in rare diseases. And collectively, all rare diseases together is a public health issue. Individually, each rare disease is not given much budget or importance. But when we come together and identify the common challenges, I think that's very important, but not yet being done in reality. So I think we should actually make that happen.
Yeah, because when we talk individually, I talk about a few hundreds or a few thousands, but I mean, I'm sure when we talk collectively, we are talking in millions. Yeah. And that's what is the strength that we have. And we have not really worked on that strength to draw attention from various quarters, be it the government, be it the private sector, be it the researchers, be it the scientists who could do the work for us. So, I mean, it's the point where all of us can get together and make some sense out of our being under a common umbrella of being under the rare disease community.
Absolutely. So one part of making that happen, Samir, is a technology platform to make it scalable. Doing manual one-on-one is not going to scale when we come together as all rare disease communities together, or say the Patient Alliance together. So we have built or started off with a version 1.0 of Patient Concierge, which we plan to expand and scale, where individual patient requests as well as patient groups and the overall community's needs can be organized and can be delivered. You know, whether it's getting a second opinion consultation with a medical expert somewhere else, or organizing consultations with other patient advocacy groups, or whatever the case might be. And even registries and data collection programs, right? That's a common need for everyone. Understanding the natural history of the disease. There are newer technology platforms that are becoming available that has not been adopted in rare disease community overall, and more so in India. So that's one aspect, part of the solution. But I think the way we have approached the Patient Alliance from Indo-US Rare is not all patient groups are at the same, say, evolution, the stage of the evolution. Some rare diseases are already at a stage like SMA, where there are 3 approved treatments and they are struggling to gain access to the treatment, which is already there, maybe in other country, but not in India, maybe in India, but not affordable. And there are other rare diseases where pemphigus and pemphigoid or others, each community has a different stage where maybe diagnosis itself is a challenge. Like for EDS, it takes 19 or 22 years before a patient is accurately diagnosed. And can we get this diagnosis to be done mandatorily in newborn screening? Once the diagnosis is done, is there any treatment option at all? If not, how can we help move towards, like DART example, right? Very inspiring. There was no treatment, so they decided we will make the treatment happen. Very ambitious, and they made it happen. So I think, yes, we agree that there is common challenges across the board, but also different diseases are in different stages from a scientific, clinical, medical point of view. But the patient support aspect that you mentioned, Samir, is common across the board, right? All parents want to know how we can deal with our day-to-day. That we totally agree. And I think different patient groups are approaching this a little differently, right? Some groups act primarily as patient support groups, others as advocacy groups that are advocating for newborn screening, or say a specific ask to the legislators and the executive branches of the government. Others are working directly with the industry to get their treatment, discovered and regulatory approvals through clinical studies. So I think there is commonalities, but also there is individual aspect of each organizational needs.
Yeah, I just want to ask one more thing. So before, I know Ms. Gitanjali, you wanted to add something. Another aspect I wanted to ask here is that I know patients and families reach out to each other for support and information on things that maybe clinicians would not be able to provide them on the day-to-day aspect. And even clinicians themselves, one of the clinicians spoke yesterday, as one doctor who deals with a huge number of patients, I possibly cannot keep track of everything. So there is need for different stakeholders to support each other, and together the output would be of benefit to all patients. But an important aspect here is that of misinformation that gets spread, especially when you have, especially in a vulnerable group where people are, reaching at straws for some treatment. And as a patient advocacy group and as a researcher, how do we address that and make sure that patients get verified and proper information so that, they're not led down dark avenues?
See, I think, the superstitious and I would say you're right, it's a vulnerable group, and they become vulnerable when you don't have a treatment available, when you don't have cure available. they become very easy praise for anybody to just walk in and say, oh, you don't have a solution? Come with me. I'll lead you and I'll take you to a solution. And that's where the problem starts. So I also feel that it's, because you're in a group, it becomes easier to share your experiences, to share what has happened with their personal, views on these superstitious and misinformation which has been provided to them, or they have been misled. It could be that, it may be I am myself a victim of a wrong person having misled me onto this. And I can share that on a platform where everybody gets to know, oh, this is what has happened with Sameer. So can we be more careful? Can we avoid a situation like this? They can post questions or they can post queries on a group discussion to ask, okay, somebody suggested me a cure being available with, say, for example, in homeopathic. Does it work? Is it something to try, worth trying? So, those are the questions which you could do in a parent support group. And that's how it can work.
Geeta, are you there? Are you able to speak? Geeta?
Gitanjali,
Yeah, go ahead, Geeta.
I did unmute myself. Hello, I'm Geeta Bhatt, and I actually live in the US. But of course, I'm basically from India. My child has multiple diagnoses. And as I work through the diagnosis, actually the parent support group is the groups that I am part of, they are well moderated. I think what's important for a parent support group is somebody has to take ownership of moderating the group, because it could be, some sort of, wrong information spread. So some of the groups I'm part of will not let you post things like that. Like, those kind of posts will be removed. After if you repeatedly spam it with, okay, here this is whatever, herbal cure or something. And then there's always a says in is not a substitute for medical advice. You always have to run it by doctors. I mean, for instance, I'm part of a group because my child has pardon?
Your voice is breaking up.
Is it any better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even as a part of some of the groups, like even for things like arthritis, which is a well-established diagnosis, there are people asking, can we do herbal remedies and so on? And people will always say, moms will comment that those are all add-on therapies, and you will have to check with your doctor for potential interactions. So nobody is allowed to give out kind of advice. And usually we will say, this worked for me. And we stop at that. We don't force, you cannot tell someone to do. But, bottom line is you need a good moderator. That's important. And it has to be a private group, and you cannot make it public and have anybody and everybody join. Someone has to vet them. I have been parts of groups where you have to friend the admin and they will check your profile and then only let you into that group. It's pretty well controlled.
Absolutely, Geeta. We do that very, very, very rigorously. We don't allow any parent to post about any medicines. There may be parents who come up and say, oh, my daughter's having stomach ache today, or she's having headache today, or what should I give to her? And we don't allow any parents. I mean, it's immediately responded to and said, please don't prescribe any medicines. Even if somebody does, we warn them and say, please don't, this may have worked for you, but it's not necessary it's going to work for others. It's not allowed. We don't allow them to do that. And I think as a practice, it's very important to make sure that no medical advice is given. I think there was one presentation which was talking a difference between, I think, to differentiate between, I think it was Shani who was mentioned about medical advice and medical information. Yes, you can provide medical information, but no medical advice. We always prescribe and say, you go to a doctor, you go to a clinician and get yourself tested. before any kind of medication can be administered to anyone. It's not permitted. We don't allow that to happen.
Yeah, and I guess it's a little bit different in India because, you know, in the US, you don't get that many things over the counter anyway. So
yeah,
even
absolutely.
if someone were to suggest,
Absolutely.
you can't get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In India, we don't give any medicine advice as such, other than the treatments that are available, and we go tell people that they can contact their doctors for how to get the treatment, the possibilities of treatment, because they're very new. But in terms of care, we don't advise. We can advise therapies to them that, for disease maintenance, because there's certain protocols and standard of care that are available internationally, and those also are very different when it comes to an Indian patient, because some of those assistive technologies are not even available for care and maintenance here. So it's very imperative, and we've been working on it to create a somehow a standard of disease maintenance or care for patients, where common issues that happen, how are they treated, and what is to be done about them. And that is more to do with even with medical fraternity. If there's a standard of care, it really helps, because you could be with different doctors, and they might have exposure to your particular disease or might not have. So that reference to the standard of care is documentation is extremely important.
Yeah. So one question I have for all the speakers and everyone is, how do we engage and involve all the patients and families in these conferences and discussions, in addition to having the leaders who represent individual rare diseases? It will be useful and important to have the individual patients as well, right? And that generally does not happen in any of the conferences we have attended. I'm curious if there is a reason and how to change that.
I'll give you a very, very obvious reason, and we faced this in earlier. See, people are very, I won't say they're reluctant, but they're not very tech savvy. So the moment you put register through Eventbrite and this, I actually put this on my group, and I got some, at least not many, but at least 10 queries on the WhatsApp group that we have common, that we are not able to give us the Zoom link and give us the Zoom link. Now, I only had the speaker Zoom link, and that is not the link that I can provide them. But if you have like an open link, it's easier for, at least, there's some people who can get through Zoom and they'll be able to join in. But this registry and Eventbrite and all is, I don't think people go through that much trouble or are able to do it for whatever reasons.
The language is another problem. A lot of these, even if you talk about, sending invites to parents, for example, how do you think a parent living in, say, for example, in Kerala, be able to understand a conference which is being done in English, and he understands only the Malayalam? It's not going to be possible for them to be able to understand that. And that the language barrier becomes one of the issues. The second is, what is it that they can expect from a conference like this? Unless that question is answered, that they are going to benefit or they're going to get some advantage out of attending a conference like this, that needs to be highlighted, and that needs to be brought out very explicitly for them to understand that what is that I am going to gain after I've attended a conference like this. And that's something which we need to work on. That's something which we need to be able to convince. And the third aspect would be through the leaders. They need to promote and encourage their respective participants in their groups to come and attend a conference like this. Unless and until the leaders are convinced that their members should attend, how would the members understand or know that there's a conference and they can attend to a conference like this?
Okay, thank you for those suggestions.
Ms. Weber, please go ahead. You had something to add.
Yes, with conferences, to entice healthcare providers to attend our conferences, we do offer CME credit for them as an enticement, that they do not have to pay additional to the registration price of attending the conference. To entice the community members to attend, the speakers in the world of EDS and HSD, there's low awareness in the medical community, and the experts of these conditions are few and far between. And they are the speakers at our conferences. And so it is maybe the one opportunity that community members are going to have the opportunity to actually listen to them, to ask them direct questions in Q&A, to have consultations one-on-one with them, 15-minute consultations to ask about one issue. These different opportunities, but also what a difference it makes for people living with a rare disease or any condition probably, to be in a room with others with the same condition. So really promoting that opportunity to make friends who really understand, who really get it. You found your tribe. You are with your people, and focusing on that aspect of the conference as well has brought many of our community members to our events.
Great, thank you for sharing.
I just wanted to ask about trust issues in the general public. So one of the things that we did speak about was misinformation, and the aspect of trust and transparency in clinical trials is being raised. We as organizations are trying to get approvals and badges for transparency, but that's mostly for, it's usually linked to donations, but which is amazing that people know whom to trust. But in otherwise for verified information, which is something again that we want to provide during using our patient concierge program, what would be, what would be your recommendations to be able to, strive towards this? Is there something that you all do as leaders of your organizations? Anybody?
As I shared in my presentation, we supported one trial in India, which was at 6 different locations. And initially when we started, we were approached by the CRO to support this trials specifically for Rett syndrome. Now the question which first came to our minds was to have clarity with complete information about the trials. So they had to convince us that we can go and share that information about the trials to the parents. Unless and until we were convinced, we would not permit them to have any access to the parents. So the first and the foremost thing is to provide information to us. We will discuss it between ourselves with experts from within our group and external experts. So the trust part which you're talking about would come only when the parents know that there is somebody who has done that due diligence, who has worked on a great depth to understand what is this trial about, how is it going to be conducted, what could be the risk which is associated with it, what could be the possible insurance which is linked to any kind of untoward incident which happens or is reported during the trials. How is the support which is going to be essential during the trials going to be extended and going to be committed by whoever is going to be the principal investigator for that respective trial. So all those aspects actually need to be vetted out, needs to be confirmed and reassured before you actually start disclosing and telling the parents about this. So that's what we did. That's exactly what we followed and we did. We did the due diligence. We did the vetting out of the entire discussion about the trials, and thereafter we allowed the parents to come before the respective principal investigators to share more about the the trials, and leave it on the parents to then take their own decision whether they want to still continue or they don't want to continue. So then it's a as we talk about informed consent, they have clarity. They have complete information about what this trial is all about. And that's how you build up the trust. It cannot be just that just because a big pharma company or a big name in a CRO is coming up or a big hospital is sponsoring the trials, everybody would enroll for it. No, they would not. So that trust has to come out of some in-depth study which you need to do for the trial before you actually roll it out to the parents.
Great point. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I completely agree. And that trust has to be built throughout time and continued effort to make sure that your communications are as clear and as accurate and have been triple checked as possible. You're only putting out 100% correct information. You're using experts in the field, and you have trusted experts to ask in the field before you put out any communication or talk about any trial, knowing all the ins and outs and being very transparent with your community as well. Not all communications or all things are going to be good news or all good things, and communicating everything and openly and as transparently as possible and as timely as possible is a great way to build trust. And yeah.
Thank you.
David, Jean, Matthew, would you like to introduce yourself? Have a last few minutes in this networking session. If you'd like to speak, feel free.
You said you wouldn't put anybody on the spot.
So I put 3 people on the spot. Okay. We are well over time. Really appreciate everyone staying over time. And I know in India, especially, it's close to midnight now. So this was a very good discussion, a lot of learnings and notes for us to go back to the drawing board and come back next year with better plans, and look forward to collaborating with all of you, and together we can keep advancing our mission.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in, and thank you for staying.
Can I conclude it with the video which I could not play in my presentation?
Yes,
I want, because that's something which really I found it very nice and interesting to show as to how India is changing. We talk about it.
Let's do it.
Just one second. Yeah, let's just hope it. I just hope it works.
Yeah, if you click on the view options and say share sound, the sound might come through.
Oh.
On the top, there is view options. There is a little arrow or a caret somewhere on the top where you can say share sound.
No, I think that needs to be done before the presentation. That's how I think you'll have to share sound before.
Before you start sharing, options at the bottom. Yeah, at the bottom you'd be able to.
Yes. Okay. Now I got it.
It is said and believed to give a man a fish is to feed him for a day, but to teach him how to fish is to feed him for a lifetime. This is one such place. Welcome to Caviar World.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
One such place. Welcome to Caviar World. डिश होता है। मैं खा रही हूँ एयरपोर्ट का स्पेशल सैंडविच और इससे ज़्यादा स्वादिष्ट खाना मैंने आज तक नहीं खाया।
And it shall be given, the key to his heart of mine. We'll be waiting there when the arms are hard.
They're good sandwiches, they're good coffee. So I said, of course, I'll try it out with my friends. So this is what I've come second time. The food they serve, it's really amazing. So I'm going to be back here again and again.
So since we've opened, it's been about 3 weeks. The response has been phenomenal. I mean, we knew that we would get some kind of reaction. We knew we would get some attention. We didn't expect this kind of attention. We're overwhelmed by the response from our customers. They've all been very positive. From liking the food, of course, to the lovely service that's being provided. We have a comment book that's already been filled up to almost half, and it's just been such a positive experience. The feedback that we're getting is that finally there's something like this, and there should be more of this. I think that people are constantly looking for unique experiences, especially with food.
Excellent.
What a
That's really nice.
It's a great conclusion to this event and day, Samir. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Asha. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful platform. And we hope that this continues and we can actually create something more meaningful in terms of learning and resource compilation and sharings between India and the entire globe.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to that, and thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night.
Hope to see you all again tomorrow morning, same time for the industry day.
Sure.
Bye.
Sure. Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.